two, one.
Hi guys. In this lesson, I want to talk about the commentary portion of your paper. I noticed when I graded your last suspense analysis paragraph, many of you scored low on the commentary portion. Now, not everyone did, and those who got full credit, I want you to continue explaining your thoughts. So let's back up. What is the purpose of commentary? Remember, that's that last column on your graphic organizer, that third one to the far right. So the reason we have commentary is because you need to show how and why your evidence or examples support that yellow supporting detail and ultimately your thesis. Sometimes when you give your explanation, we forget that someone reading your paper may not have seen the movie you're writing about or read the short story you're responding to, so you may have to give extra details to provide the reader with context. So let's go back to my problem here. Since we scored low, I wanted to figure out why. And my thinking is we did not explain our thought process. It made sense to us, but maybe not another reader. Also, we sometimes leave out important details from the story. So what does good evidence look like? So we have our two examples for each supporting detail. Now, this is the description of full credit evidence on the rubric you will receive. Textual evidence logically and effectively supports the supporting detail and thesis. Each body paragraph contains 2 to 3 pieces of strong evidence in chronological order. Ooh, there's one of our stems, chron, time. So if you've got 2 examples and one happened earlier in the movie and one happened later, you want to put the one that happened earlier first. So here's an example. So let's say my thesis is the narrator's not insane, since that's the thesis statement I shared with you. You notice here's my supporting detail, my purple transition, which I will get to shortly. So I said, to begin, the narrator is not insane because the murder was premeditated. What I have right here is a little bit of context before I give my example. He planned out the murder of the old man so meticulously before he committed the crime. All right, that's not a quote, though that's my own words, and it was important to say that before I actually gave my text evidence, because it makes my text evidence make a lot more sense. So, for example, he boasts, "You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work." If I had just put that in and not had this context right here, the reader may have been confused. They may not have known what premeditated meant. They might not have known who the narrator was murdering. So sometimes you have to give a little bit of context. All right, so you need 2 of these in each body paragraph. So then what does good commentary look like? Well, the rubric that I will give you says, body paragraphs contain effective explanation of evidence in your own words. Remember, the majority of your paragraph should be your own words. You're not quoting anything since this is a movie, but it should be your own thinking. Each piece of evidence is explained in at least 2 sentences that analyze how the piece of evidence proves the thesis and supporting detail. Analysis shows depth and goes beyond the obvious. So you want to avoid saying, "And this shows why Ricky Baker is a hero." We know why, how. All right, this is important. And for my stronger writers, you should be striving to really explain your thinking beyond just stating the supporting detail. So here's an example. So after I gave my evidence, this is what I'd put afterwards in the same paragraph. Since the narrator is bragging about how carefully he went about the murder, he is proving that he thought long and hard about the murder before he committed it. Premeditation is the act of planning something out before you decide to actually do it. If a person is believed to be insane, then they act out of impulse. The narrator here chose to kill the old man and never changed his mind. All right. So this is all my commentary for this piece of evidence here. All right, so imagine if they were smushed together. Now you notice in parentheses here I say, insert second piece of evidence in commentary. Well, I need another piece of evidence. Some of you may ask me, could I put all my commentary after the evidence? It depends. If the evidence is they're very similar and you feel like you could explain them all together, yes. But be careful, because sometimes if they're very different, it just gets disorganized. You may want a conference with me so I can help you work through that. And you'll notice I've got my purple transition sentence here. So not only did the narrator plan out the murder carefully, he also knew he was committing a wrong deed the entire time he planned. So my next supporting detail, if I was to continue writing, would be about how he knew he was doing something wrong. And this is the transition sentence that I mentioned in the anchor chart. All right, so I'm not sure if it will load here, but it is on Classroom. It is the anchor chart. Here it is. That's this right here, the transition bridge statement. Okay, so that was an example of it. So if I go back, the last thing I want to talk about, you notice that I had several things in purple. Those are transitions. You notice I also had it at the beginning. All right. So your list of transitions can be found on Classroom. I have attached it. So you may recognize this from first trimester. I want these in purple. These are just the single words. Your transition statements at the end of each body paragraph will be an entire sentence. But this is a good place to look. And it also tells you on the side when you would use these. Not all of these work. So you want to kind of read it to yourself. Does it make sense? And then take a look at these green headings. It tells you when you would use it. So last thing, this is a little helpful hint for some of you. If you still are unsure about what to write for your commentary, if you have question 1, for example, all the questions are listed here, so find your question. If you just answer this thoroughly, you're going to have a pretty good commentary. Okay, so if you're still stuck, refer to this if you do not know what else to put. If you have answered this question thoroughly, chances are you will get full credit in your commentary. Let me know if you have any questions.